Fairbanks North Starborough School District Certified Staff Evaluation Training Video. Reviewing the Framework for Teaching, Part 1. State law requires districts offer training to certificated employees on the procedures of the evaluation system, the standards that are being used, and other information the district considers helpful. To meet the requirements of the state law, this video will provide a brief overview of the framework for teaching, familiarize teachers with the district's evaluation system, review the 3 different types of evaluations within the evaluation system, and provide information on resources and relevant documents. The district's expectation for teacher performance, reflection, and growth are grounded in Charlotte Danielson's Framework for Teaching. Online training on the framework is available in Canvas. Charlotte Danielson has divided her framework for teaching into 4 domains. Domain 1, planning and preparation. Domain 2, the classroom environment. Domain 3, instruction. And Domain 4, professional responsibilities. Each domain is then broken down into components. Teachers will be evaluated on each of the components in a domain, and each domain will then receive a rating of either unsatisfactory, basic, proficient, or distinguished. Domains 1 and 4 are typically considered the non-observable domains, whereas domains 2 and 3 are typically observed during a formal or informal observation. Let's break down each domain. The components in Domain 1 outline how a teacher organizes the content of what students are expected to learn. In other words, how the teacher designs instruction. These include 1A, demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy, 1B, demonstrating knowledge of students, 1C, setting instructional outcomes, 1D, demonstrated knowledge of resources, 1E, designing coherent instruction, and 1F, designing student assessments. Domains 1 and 4 are considered to be the domains that are typically not observable during an observation. Instead, teachers have to provide evidence for their evaluation for these domains. You will provide this information on the Domains 1 and 4 portfolio form in EEM. The components in Domain 2 consist of the interactions that occur in a classroom that are non-instructional. These consist of 2A, creating an environment of respect and rapport. 2B, establishing a culture for learning. 2C, managing classroom procedures. 2D, managing student behavior. And 2E, organizing space. The classroom environment is a critical aspect of a teacher's skill in promoting learning. Students can't concentrate on academics if they don't feel comfortable in the classroom. If the atmosphere is negative, if the students feel ridiculed, if the environment is chaotic, no one can focus on learning. This includes the teacher. The components of Domain 3 are what constitutes the core of teaching, the engagement of students in learning. These include 3A, communicating with students, 3B, using questioning and discussion techniques, 3C, engaging students in learning, 3D, using assessment and instruction, and 3E, demonstrating flexibility and responsiveness. Domain 3 is the heart of the framework for teaching. It describes all the necessary components of a comprehensive learning environment. The components in Domain 4 represent the wide range of a teacher's responsibilities outside the classroom. These include 4A, reflecting on teaching, 4B, maintaining accurate records, 4C, communicating with families, 4D, participating in a professional community, 4E, growing and developing professionally, and 4F, showing professionalism. Teachers who demonstrate these competencies are highly valued by their colleagues and administrators, as well as being seen as true professionals. The framework for teaching identifies 4 levels of performance: unsatisfactory, basic, proficient, and distinguished. The teacher performing at the unsatisfactory level does not yet appear to understand the concepts underlying the domain. Working on the fundamental practices associated with the domain and our components will enable the teacher to grow and develop in this area. In some areas of practice, Performance at the unsatisfactory level represents teaching that is below the licensing standard of do no harm. For example, students are treated with sarcasm or put-downs, component 2C, or learning is shut down, component 3C. Therefore, if a supervisor encounters performance at the unsatisfactory level, it is likely time to intervene. Here are some examples of what unsatisfactory language looks like. The teacher makes content errors or doesn't correct errors made by students, and teachers don't understand how students learn. The interactions in the classroom are mostly negative, inappropriate, or insensitive to the students' ages, cultural backgrounds, and developmental skills. Interactions are also characterized by sarcasm, put-downs, or conflict. The teacher does not deal with disrespectful behavior. The instructional purpose of the lesson is unclear to students, and the directions and procedures are confusing. It contains major errors. The teacher's spoken or written language also contains error, and the academic vocabulary is inappropriate for the age of the students. The teacher does not know whether a lesson was effective or achieved its instructional outcomes. The teacher misjudges the success of the lesson and doesn't have any idea on how the lesson can be improved. Some common threads include these words: no, does not, little understanding, mostly negative, unclear, major errors, and inappropriate, and misjudges. The teacher performing at the basic level appears to understand the concepts underlying the component and attempts to implement its elements. Performance at the basic level is characteristic of teachers new to the profession, those for whom virtually everything they do is being done for the first time. So it's not surprising that not everything goes according to plan. Even when experienced teachers try a new activity, its implementation may be rough or inconsistent. In fact, when trying a new activity, an experienced teacher may perform at the basic level for the same reason a new teacher might. They are doing something for the first time. Basic is not always synonymous with bad teaching. Receiving a rating of basic is one step in getting support from the administrator in improving professional practices and will result in increased student learning. Here are some examples of basic language. The teacher displays generally accurate knowledge, but may only apply this to whole groups, not to individual students. There's little commitment to learning by the teachers or students, and students indicate they only want to get their work done rather than completing quality of work. High expectations for learning are reserved for those students thought to have an aptitude for learning. The teacher's questions lead the students through a single line of inquiry. Only a few students are involved, and then students apply their knowledge with uneven results. The teacher's record-keeping system is rudimentary and only partially effective, and it can be inefficient and prone to errors. Common threads include generally accurate, little commitment, low quality work, uneven results, few engaged students, and partially effective. The teacher performing at the proficient level clearly understands the concepts underlying the component and implements it well. Most experienced, capable teachers will regard themselves and be regarded by others as performing at this level. Teachers thoroughly know their content. They know their students. They know the curriculum and have a broad repertoire of strategies and activities to use with students. Many of the routines of teaching have become automatic, and proficient teachers have developed a sophisticated understanding of classroom dynamics and are alert to events that don't conform to the expected pattern. Teachers performing at the proficient level have mastered the work of teaching while working to improve their practice. Within the framework for teaching, most teachers will fall within the proficient range. Here are some examples of what proficiency looks like in a classroom. The instructional outcomes are rigorous and important. They represent coordination, they're differentiated, and they're for different groups of students. There's little loss of instructional time due to effective classroom routines and procedures. Consistently successful, and the students follow established classroom routines. Students are engaged in learning. The learning is designed to challenge student thinking, invite students to make their thinking visible, and there's active intellectual engagement by most students. Their groupings are suitable for the students in the activities. When communicating with families, the communication is frequent and conveys information about student progress in a culturally sensitive manner. Common threads include rigorous, differentiation, effective, consistent, challenging, engaged, and culturally sensitive. Teachers performing at the distinguished level are master teachers and make a contribution to the field both in and outside their school. Their classrooms operate at a qualitatively different level from those of other teachers. Such classrooms consist of a community of learners with students highly motivated and engaged and assuming considerable responsibility for their own learning. A classroom functioning at the distinguished level seems to be running itself. It's seamless. The students know what to do and get right to work. As some educators have phrased it, distinguished level performance is a good place to visit, but don't expect to live there. Few teachers in the district should be assigned an overall rating of distinguished. Here are some examples of what a distinguished classroom looks like. The teacher's knowledge of resources is extensive. Student behavior is entirely appropriate. Students take an active role in monitoring their own behavior and that of other students. The teacher's monitoring of student behavior is subtle and preventive, and the teacher's response to student behavior is sensitive to individual student needs and respects students' dignity. Assessment is fully integrated into instruction. Questions and assessments are used regularly to diagnose student learning, and students self-assess and monitor their own progress. The teacher's relationship with their colleagues are characterized by mutual support and cooperation. The teacher assumes a leadership role in the school, and the teacher also volunteers to participate in school events and district projects. Common threads include extensive, entirely, respectful, community of learners, student-initiated, student self-assessment, and leadership. Now that we've looked at language from different components, let's take a closer look at the continuum for one component, classroom management. Looking back on the common threads of each proficiency level, you can see that the unsatisfactory level contains these common threads: no, disrespectful, little. In the basic level, we are seeing inconsistent and uneven results. Again, this is reflective of someone new to the profession. Those skills can grow with experience and support from the administrator. In the proficient level, we are seeing generally appropriate behavior in recognition that there are times when some students are acting out. And then we see consistent, sensitive, and effective. Finally, in the distinguished level, all students are appropriate. Students are taking an active role. The role of the teacher is subtle and sensitive. This is the hardest level to achieve due to the role that students play within each component. Remember that teachers will visit distinguished, but live in proficient. Let's do a quick recap of the domains. Domains 1 and 4 are considered the non-observable domains. Domain 1, planning and preparation, are the skills required to develop effective instruction. Domain 4, professional responsibilities, relates to the responsibilities that teachers have outside of the instructional portion of their duties. Domains 2 and 3 are the observable domains. However, an evaluator may not observe all the components of each domain within one 30-minute lesson. It is the teacher's responsibility to provide insight and evidence for any component that was not observed. Most teachers will fall within the proficiency level. However, early career teachers and teachers who are teaching a grade level or a course for the first time may have some basic ratings. This will be consistent with this level. Very few teachers will receive an overall rating of distinguished based on the nature of this proficiency level. This level reflects a high level of student engagement and personal leadership. Your final evaluation summary rating will be determined by preponderance of evidence collected over the course of the school year. Reviewing the Fairbanks-North Starborough School District Evaluation System. The Fairbanks-North Starborough School District Teacher Evaluation System Chart provides a synopsis of the types of evaluations used within the district and the components of each evaluation. This chart provides a broad overview with more information available in the Teacher Evaluation Handbook. As you can see, there are 4 different columns on the chart: non-tenured, tenured, professional growth plan, and plan of improvement. The next few slides will give a brief synopsis of each of these columns. Non-tenured teachers will always be evaluated using the standard evaluation. The standard evaluation system has 8 required components. Tenured teachers must be evaluated on a standard evaluation at least every other year. The district has 2 alternate options for teachers based on principal input for evaluations in the year following a standard evaluation. Principals may place a teacher back on a standard evaluation, on the Danielson Domain Focus Evaluation, which is a goal-setting tool, or the Distinguished Evaluation, which is geared toward leadership opportunities. More information on the optional evaluations will be discussed later in this video. Professional growth plans are non-disciplinary plans of action with the purpose of providing structure, support, and guidance toward meeting proficient standards for professional practice. The purpose of a plan of improvement is to provide organizational support and assistance to teachers who are not meeting the standards for professional practice. This is an intensive evaluation period that focuses on components from any domain that are in the unsatisfactory performance range or that have remained basic after the implementation of a professional growth plan. The components of the standard evaluation include a philosophy of education, a pre-observation conference, a formal observation, a post-observation conference, an informal observation, teacher evidence and artifacts for domains 1 and 4, an evaluator review of the evidence and artifacts for domains 1 and 4, and a final evaluation summary. The philosophy of education is due by September 15th. Your philosophy of education is a philosophical statement that enables your supervisor to know who you are and what you value as a professional. Your philosophy of education should include a few of the following: the educational principles that guide you as an educator, what it means for your students to truly learn something and how you know your students learn, effective teaching methods and strategies, how personalized learning is utilized to support student learning, what role technology plays in extending student learning, effective assessment strategies, and other items that you value as a professional. Your evaluator will schedule a pre-observation conference. Your evaluator may also assign a pre-observation form for you to complete prior to this meeting. The conversation will center around what effective practices look like, sound like, and result in. This conference plays a major role in developing a shared understanding of what proficient practices are. It also helps lay the groundwork for what an evaluator can expect to see during the formal observation. The formal observation. Your evaluator will schedule the formal observation in advance at a date and time that is agreed upon by both parties within reason. It will last for a minimum of 30 minutes. This observation allows for principals to provide feedback to teachers on their teaching practice. Non-tenured teachers will receive at least 2 formal observations, while tenured teachers will receive at least 1. The post-observation conference. This conference follows the formal observation. Teachers will be assigned reflective questions that should be completed and submitted via EEM prior to the conference. Evidence and feedback from the formal observation will be shared with the teacher at this meeting. The evaluator will schedule this meeting within 10 working days of their formal observation. Informal observations. At least 1 informal observation is required. Informal observations help inform the evaluator of classroom dynamics and classroom practices. Informal observations can also occur during other times, such as meetings with parents or colleagues. The key to this step is that informal observations provide evaluators the opportunities to provide feedback regarding what they have observed in order to promote reflection on effective practices. Feedback will be given to teachers via EEM. Teacher evidence and artifacts for domains 1 and 4, and the evaluator review of evidence and artifacts. Throughout the year, teachers should be collecting evidence to submit to their evaluators for domains 1 and 4. Evaluators will score their provided evidence on a rubric. A meeting, which may be held concurrently with a final evaluation summary meeting, will be used to discuss the ratings for domains 1 and 4. Final evaluation summary meeting. Upon completion of the standard evaluation process, the evaluator will assess all the evidence available for the teacher. The evaluator will then assign a score for each domain based on the preponderance of evidence gathered during the year. Following the final evaluation summary conference, a period of 5 work days shall be allowed for an optional written response by the teacher and electronic acknowledgement of the final evaluation summary form. The written response will be added to the comments section of the final evaluation summary form. Alternate evaluation methods. Evaluators may choose to place teachers on an alternate evaluation pathway following the successful completion of a standard evaluation. The two choices are the Danielson Domain Focus Evaluation and the Distinguished Rating Evaluation. The Danielson Domain Focus Evaluation. This evaluation is for tenured teachers who were rated proficient or distinguished on a standard evaluation the previous year and for tenured teachers in their first tenured year. There are 4 components within this evaluation: a philosophy of education, a beginning of the year goal that is established by the teacher based on input from the prior year's evaluation, input from the principal, and an area of growth the teacher would like to explore. Then there is a mid-year review of the goal. If areas of concern are identified, a teacher may be moved to a standard evaluation by January 31st. An end-of-the-year summary review is due April 20th. Distinguished Rating Evaluation. Tenured teachers who receive a distinguished rating on the standard evaluation may be placed, at the discretion of the evaluator, on a distinguished evaluation form the following year. A teacher on a distinguished rating evaluation will participate in leadership opportunities to be determined jointly by the administrator and the teacher. The distinguished rating form is due October 1st. A variety of resources related to the evaluation system are located on the Labor Relations page of the Human Resources website. These resources include the Teacher Evaluation Handbook, examples of the evaluation rubrics, the Danielson Domain Smart Cards, the FNSBSD Teacher Evaluation System Chart, and many more resources. If you have any questions about the evaluation system, please contact Labor Relations at labor.relations@k12northstar.org or call 452-2000 extension 11386.